The massive alien ship limped through space, its sleek purple hull marked by scorched patterns and deep gashes. As it approached Earth's orbital repair station 7, the emergency lights flickered weakly across its damaged surface. Inside the station's control room, Mark Thompson stared at his display screen with growing interest. "Sir, the incoming vessel is requesting emergency docking," called out Jack, the young traffic controller. "It's a Galactic Merchant Guild ship, Grade A classification." Mark raised his eyebrows. The Merchant Guild ships were among the most advanced vessels in known space. They rarely came anywhere near Earth's repair stations, considering human technology primitive and unreliable. Something must have gone terribly wrong for them to seek help here. "Grant them permission," Mark said, adjusting his worn station uniform. "I'll meet them personally at Dock 4. The alien ship's docking was surprisingly smooth despite its damages. As the airlock cycled, Mark studied the vessel's hull up close. The damage pattern was unlike anything he'd seen before. Not weapon fire, not meteor impacts, but something else entirely. The airlock door opened with a hiss, revealing 3 tall, blue-skinned aliens in elaborate robes. The one in front, clearly the captain, looked down at Mark with 4 golden eyes that barely concealed his distaste. "I am Captain Rel of the merchant vessel Star Whisper," the alien announced in carefully measured words. "We require repairs. Your station was the closest option available." Mark nodded professionally, ignoring the captain's obvious reluctance. "I'm Station Chief Mark Thompson. Could you tell me what happened to your ship?" "We encountered an anomaly in the Centauri sector," Rel replied stiffly. "Our quantum drive suffered severe damage. 3 other repair stations have already declared it irreparable." Mark walked around the ship's exterior, his experienced eyes taking in every detail. 25 years of fixing everything from small Earth shuttles to mid-sized alien craft had taught him that nothing was truly irreparable. You just had to find the right approach. "Mind if I take a look at the quantum drive?" he asked, already pulling out his handheld scanner. Captain Rel made a sound that might have been a scoff. "Our drive technology is far beyond human understanding. We merely need basic repairs to reach the nearest Merchant Guild facility." "No harm in looking," Mark replied cheerfully, making his way to the damaged section. The moment he saw the quantum drive chamber, his eyes lit up. Behind the fancy alien tech and glowing crystals, he recognized something familiar. The basic principles weren't so different from the old fusion engines he'd worked on during his early days. "Jack," he called over his communicator, "get Amy and Robert down here. Tell them to bring the modified toolkit from Bay 12. Captain Rel stepped forward anxiously. "What are you planning?" "Your quantum drive isn't dead," Mark explained, pointing to subtle energy patterns his scanner had detected. "It's more like it's got engine knock. Reminds me of the problems we used to see in the early fusion drives." "Engine knock." Rel's translator seemed to struggle with the concept. "Yeah, a problem we solved on Earth centuries ago with combustion engines. The principles are similar, just on a much bigger scale." Mark was already sketching out a repair plan on his tablet. "We can fix this." The alien captain's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. 3 of the most advanced repair stations in the galaxy declared this damage irreparable. Mark grinned, the kind of confident smile that came from decades of solving impossible problems. Maybe they're too focused on replacement parts instead of actual repairs. Sometimes the old ways work best. As Amy and Robert arrived with their tools, Mark saw the doubt in Captain Rel's eyes slowly being replaced by curiosity. The alien had probably never seen anyone look at a quantum drive the way these humans did, not as a mystical piece of advanced technology, but as a machine that could be fixed with the right tools and knowledge. "Give us 48 hours, Mark said. "If we can't fix it, you can be on your way to the guild facility with no charge. But I think you'll be surprised at what we can do." Little did Mark know that this repair job would change not just his station's future, but humanity's place in the galactic repair industry forever. Mark stood in front of the quantum drive's control panel, his eyes moving between his tablet and the alien machinery. Around him, Amy and Robert carefully removed the damaged outer casing, revealing the complex network of crystals and energy conduits beneath. "This is fascinating," Amy said, her scanner hovering over a particularly bright crystal formation. "The energy flow pattern is just like a combustion engine's fuel injection system, but on a quantum level." Captain Rel watched from the doorway. All four of his eyes narrowed with concern. "Our systems are nothing like your primitive combustion devices." "Actually," Robert chimed in, wiping grease from his hands, "the basic principles are surprisingly similar. Energy in, controlled reaction, energy out. The scale and technology might be different, but the fundamentals don't change." Mark nodded, pointing to a series of damaged crystals. "See these fracture patterns? They're creating turbulence in the quantum field, just like how damaged fuel injectors used to cause engine knock in old cars." The alien captain stepped closer, curiosity temporarily overcoming his skepticism. "And you believe you can repair this without replacing the entire quantum matrix?" "Replacement isn't always the answer," Mark replied, reaching for a specialized tool from his kit. "Sometimes you need to work with what you have." "Amy, can you show me those scanner readings again?" Amy projected a holographic display showing the energy flow through the damaged drive. The normal smooth quantum patterns were disrupted by chaotic swirls around the damaged sections. Mark studied the display intently, remembering an old repair manual he'd read about ancient submarine engines. "Look here," he pointed to a particular pattern. "The energy flow is trying to compensate for the damage, but it's making things worse. We need to realign the quantum field first, then repair the crystal matrix." Captain Rel's translator crackled as he spoke quickly. "Impossible. The quantum field can only be manipulated by automated guild systems. Manual adjustments would be catastrophic." Mark smiled, pulling out a device he and his team had developed years ago. This tool was originally designed to repair microfractures in fusion containment fields. With some modifications, we can use it to gradually reshape the quantum field. "Robert, remember that repair job on the Martian mining vessel last year?" Robert's eyes lit up with understanding. "The one with the cracked containment ring. Same principle, different scale." The next few hours were a careful dance of human ingenuity and alien technology. Mark's team worked methodically, using their modified tools to adjust the quantum field micrometers at a time. Captain Rel watched with growing amazement as the chaotic energy patterns slowly stabilized. "This is not standard procedure," the alien captain muttered, but there was less criticism and more wonder in his voice now. "Standard procedures are guidelines, not rules," Mark said as he carefully manipulated a crystal fragment. "Sometimes you need to think differently to solve a problem." The real breakthrough came when Amy discovered that the damaged crystals could be partially repaired using a technique borrowed from Earth's ancient glass-making traditions. By carefully applying controlled energy pulses, they could encourage the crystal structure to rebuild itself. "It's like giving the crystal a template to heal itself," Amy explained to the fascinated alien engineers who had joined their captain to watch. "We're not replacing it, we're helping it repair itself." As the hours passed, the quantum drive's angry red warning lights began shifting to calm blue. The energy readings stabilized, and the background hum of the drive changed from a discordant whine to a smooth purr. 26 hours, Mark announced, checking his tablet one final time. "The drive is operating at 94% efficiency. That's better than factory specifications." Captain Rel stood silent for a long moment, all four eyes fixed on the newly repaired drive. "You did not simply repair it," he finally said. "You improved it. This is unprecedented." Mark shrugged, but couldn't hide his proud smile. "Sometimes the best solutions come from looking at old problems in new ways. Your quantum drive might be advanced technology, but the principles of repair and maintenance are universal." As word of the successful repair spread through the ship, Mark noticed the alien crew's attitude shifting from disdain to respect. They had witnessed something they thought impossible: Humans not just repairing but improving technology they supposedly couldn't understand. Little did they know, this was just the beginning of humanity's revolution in spacecraft repair techniques. News of the quantum drive repair spread through the galactic merchant channels like wildfire. Over the next few weeks, Repair Station 7 received more alien visitors than it had seen in the past year. Most came just to look, hanging at the edges of Earth's space, watching with curiosity. Amy was deep inside the maintenance tunnel of another alien ship when her communicator buzzed. "Amy, you need to see this." Mark's voice crackled through. "Dock 6. Now." Squeezing out of the narrow passage, Amy wiped the sweat from her forehead. The ship she'd been working on belonged to a species that preferred much hotter temperatures than humans. Yet another advantage of human repairs, they could work in conditions most alien automated systems couldn't handle. At Dock 6, she found Mark standing before a massive vessel that seemed to shimmer like oil on water. Its hull was covered in what looked like living metal, flowing and shifting in patterns that hurt her eyes. "Crystalline bioship," Mark explained, excitement clear in his voice. "The crew says it's sick." Amy blinked. "Sick, not damage. Their ships are partly alive," Robert added, walking up with his toolkit. "This one caught some kind of spaceborne infection that's making its crystal matrix deteriorate. 3 automated repair stations couldn't even diagnose the problem." The ship's crew emerged from the airlock. Tall, slender beings with translucent skin that showed swirling patterns beneath. Their leader approached Mark, movements graceful, but clearly worried. "We heard of your success with the Merchant Guild vessel," the alien's translator hummed. "Our ship heart is failing. Can you heal it?" Mark looked at Amy and Robert. Both nodded without hesitation. "We'll try our best," he told the alien. "Show us to the affected area." The inside of the bioship was unlike anything they'd seen before. Corridors shifted and moved as they walked, the living metal responding to their presence. The ship's crew led them to a central chamber where crystals grew like trees from floor to ceiling. At the center, a large crystal formation pulsed with sickly yellow light instead of healthy blue. "The infection spreads through the crystal matrix," the alien explained. "Traditional treatments have failed." Amy stepped closer, her scanner displaying readings she'd never seen before. But something about the crystal's behavior seemed familiar. "Mark," she said slowly, "remember that problem we had with the hydroponic gardens last year? The mineral growth infection." Mark's eyes lit up. "The one we fixed using sound waves to break up the bad growth patterns." "Exactly." Amy was already adjusting her tools. "These crystals respond to vibrations just like the mineral formations did. If we modify the frequency." Robert caught on immediately. "We could disrupt the infection without harming the healthy crystal." The alien crew watched in fascination as the human team set up their equipment. They used tools designed for entirely different purposes, modified on the spot to work with the living crystal. Annie carefully calibrated the sonic emitters while Robert monitored the crystal's response. "The ship is singing," one of the aliens whispered as the sound waves began their work. The sickly yellow light flickered and started to fade. Hours passed as they worked their way through the crystal matrix, section by section. They had to constantly adjust their approach, learning the ship's patterns, understanding how it responded to their treatment. It wasn't just about applying technology. It was about feeling the rhythm of the living ship, adapting their methods to work with its natural healing process. "There's something magical about human hands," the alien leader observed, watching Amy make minute adjustments to their equipment. "Your touch, it has life in it. Machines cannot replicate this." Mark smiled, remembering all the times human intuition had succeeded where automated systems had failed. "That's because we don't just fix things," he explained. "We build relationships with them. Every ship, every piece of technology has its own personality. You have to listen to it, understand it." As the last traces of infection faded and healthy blue light filled the chamber, the ship itself seemed to sigh with relief. The flowing patterns in its walls moved with renewed energy, and the air hummed with a pleasant resonance. "Your ship will need rest to fully recover," Amy told the grateful crew. "But the infection is gone. We'll show you how to prevent it from happening again." As they packed up their tools, Mark noticed several alien ships had appeared on the station's long-range scanners. Word was spreading faster than ever now. Humanity's reputation as miracle workers was growing, and their small repair station was about to become very, very busy. 2 months after healing the crystal bioship, Repair Station 7 had transformed. The once quiet human facility now buzzed with activity as alien ships of all shapes and sizes waited their turn for repairs. Robert stood at his workbench, adding another entry to his growing database of repair techniques. "That makes 50 different species we've helped now," he said, looking up as Mark walked into the workshop. "Each one with their own unique technology, and yet the basic principles remain the same," Mark finished, setting down a cup of coffee. "How's the database coming along?" Robert gestured to his screen, where diagrams and repair notes filled multiple windows. "It's amazing how many alien technologies can be fixed using modified versions of old Earth repair techniques. I've started calling it the Mechanic's Guide to the Galaxy." Their conversation was interrupted by Amy's urgent call over the station's comm system. "Mark, Robert, we got something interesting at Dock 3. You need to see this." At Dock 3, they found Amy standing before a ship that seemed to be made entirely of geometric shapes that constantly rearranged themselves. Its pilot, a being that looked like a floating cloud of sparks, hovered nearby. "Their navigation core is completely scrambled," Amy explained, excitement in her voice. "But here's the interesting part. It uses principles similar to Earth's old magnetic compass technology, just on a quantum scale." Mark watched the shifting patterns of the ship's hull. "Let me guess, no other repair station would touch it." The Spark Being's translator hummed. "They said recalibration was impossible without original manufacturer replacement parts. But we heard stories of humans who understand the soul of machines." Robert was already pulling up relevant entries from his database. "Look at this," he said, showing Mark a comparison between the alien navigation system and ancient Earth maritime navigation tools. "The principles are nearly identical. We could adapt the technique we used to fix that old submarine museum piece last year." The next few hours were a blur of activity as the team worked to understand and repair the complex navigation system. They discovered that, just like a compass needle could be remagnetized using simple tools, the quantum navigation core could be realigned using carefully controlled electromagnetic pulses. Word of their success spread quickly through the growing queue of waiting ships. Mark overheard snippets of alien conversations, transmitted through various universal translators. They fixed a Driftmind's phase-shifted core, without replacement parts, using modified primitive technology. By the end of the work cycle, 3 more ships had arrived, each with problems that other repair stations had declared impossible to fix. The station's reputation was growing faster than they could handle the incoming requests. "We need to expand," Mark announced during the evening staff meeting. "More docks, more tools, more trained personnel. But most importantly, we need to document everything we learn." Robert held up his tablet. "Already on it. Every repair teaches us something new about how different technologies relate to each other. It's like the entire galaxy runs on the same basic principles. They've just been discovered and applied in different ways. And humans seem to be the only ones who see these connections," Amy added, scrolling through repair logs. "Maybe because we had to learn everything the hard way, starting from the basics." As they discussed expansion plans, a message came through from Earth's Space Administration. The recent success of Repair Station 7 had caught the attention of both human and alien authorities. There was talk of establishing more human repair stations across different sectors of space. Mark looked out the station's viewport at the line of waiting ships, each one carrying technology that most humans wouldn't understand, yet somehow could fix. Their reputation wasn't just growing. It was changing how the galaxy viewed human technology and expertise. "We're not just fixing ships anymore," he said, watching a crystalline vessel dock with graceful precision. "We're building bridges between different technological cultures. Every repair is a chance to learn something new, to find another connection between the old and the new." Robert nodded, adding another entry to his ever-growing database. "And to think, it all started because we weren't afraid to look at advanced alien technology, the same way we'd look at an old car engine." The station's communication system chimed again. Another distress call, another impossible repair job. Just another day at humanity's growing repair empire. The emergency alert blared through Repair Station 7 at the worst possible time. Mark was elbow-deep in a delicate repair job when every screen in the station flashed red. Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Jack's voice echoed through the comm system. 15. No, 20 vessels. They're all broadcasting distress signals. Mark rushed to the control room, where the main display showed a frightening sight. A fleet of ships, many of them clearly damaged, was approaching the station. Their engines left irregular trails in space, showing signs of severe malfunction. "This is Fleet Captain Dex of the Noven refugee ships," a tired voice crackled through the communication system. "Our home system's star went supernova. We escaped, but our life support systems are failing. Please, we have thousands of civilians aboard." Amy and Robert joined Mark in the control room, their faces grim as they looked at the sensor readings. The refugee ships were in terrible condition, their hulls stressed from emergency FTL jumps, life support systems running on backup power, and engine cores near collapse. "Why didn't they go to a bigger station?" Jack asked, frantically coordinating docking patterns. "They tried." Fleet Captain Dex's voice was heavy with exhaustion. "3 major repair stations refused to help. Said the risk of total system failure was too high. We heard about your station. About humans who can fix the impossible." Mark looked at his team, then at the approaching fleet. Their station had never handled more than 5 ships at once. Now they faced 20, all critically damaged, with thousands of lives at stake. "How long do the life support systems have?" Mark asked. "Less than 30 hours on most ships," came the reply. "Some are down to 20. Robert was already checking his database. Their ships use crystalline matrix technology for life support, similar to that bioship we fixed, but more complex, and more dangerous if we get it wrong," Amy added, but her hands were already reaching for her tools. A single mistake could cause a cascade failure. Mark made his decision. "Jack, clear all non-emergency repairs. Move those ships to the outer docks. Amy, start organizing repair teams. Anyone with experience in life support systems. Robert, we need a crash course in noven ship technology." The next hour was organized chaos as the refugee ships docked. The station's corridors filled with worried aliens, tall, graceful beings with iridescent skin that had dulled from stress and fear. Many carried children, all of them looking at the human repair crews with desperate hope. Inside the first ship, Mark's team found a nightmare of failing systems. The life support crystal matrix was cracking, poisoned by radiation from the supernova. Traditional repairs would take weeks they didn't have. "Look at this pattern," Amy said, scanning the crystal matrix. "The radiation damage spreads like a disease through the crystal structure. But if we adapt our bioship repair technique and combine it with the magnetic realignment we used last week," Robert added, quickly pulling up his notes, "we could stabilize the matrix long enough to repair it." Mark nodded. "We'll need to work on multiple ships simultaneously. Amy, train every available engineer in the technique. Robert, set up monitoring systems. We need to know the moment something goes wrong." The station transformed into an emergency repair center. Human engineers worked alongside alien crew members, teaching them quick repair techniques. They used tools in ways they were never designed for, adapted solutions on the spot, and relied on both technical knowledge and human intuition. As the hours ticked by, the status of ship after ship changed from critical to stable. The dulled skin of the Noven refugees began to glow again as hope returned, but they were only halfway through the fleet, and time was running out for the remaining ships. 18 hours left, Robert announced, checking his monitors. 10 ships still need critical repairs. Mark looked at his tired crew, then at the frightened faces of the refugee children. Then we better work faster, he said, picking up his tools. We didn't get our reputation by giving up when things got tough. The biggest challenge of Repair Station 7's history was only half over, and the real test of human ingenuity was yet to come. 16 hours into the crisis, fatigue began to show on every face in Repair Station 7. 10 ships remained in critical condition, their life support systems barely holding on. Mark wiped sweat from his forehead as he studied the readings from the latest repair attempt. The crystal matrix isn't responding fast enough, Amy said, her voice tight with worry. We're losing too much time treating each ship individually. Robert burst into the control room, his tablet displaying a complex diagram. I think I found something. Remember how old Earth ships used to link systems during emergency repairs? Mark's tired eyes suddenly lit up. Like the emergency power transfers in space station rescues. Exactly. Robert pointed to his diagram. These noven ships all use the same basic crystal matrix design. If we could link them together, we could repair all the remaining ships simultaneously. Amy finished, already seeing where this was going. The idea was crazy. Linking 10 massive alien ships together to create one giant life support network had never been attempted before. The risk of catastrophic failure was enormous, but they were running out of options. Fleet Captain Dex listened to their plan, his iridescent skin pulsing with concern. This has never been done. The energy feedback alone could shatter every crystal matrix. That's why we'll use human technology as a buffer, Mark explained, sketching out his idea. Our station's power grid was designed to handle multiple types of energy signatures. We can modify it to act as a stabilizer between the ships. The next 2 hours were a frenzy of activity. Every available crew member worked to run massive power cables between ships. They converted Earth equipment to interface with alien technology, using techniques that would make any traditional engineer faint. Like jumping a dozen cars at once, Robert muttered as he calibrated the power flow. Just with quantum crystals instead of batteries. Amy coordinated teams to synchronize the crystal matrices. Think of it like tuning instruments in an orchestra, she told the alien engineers. Each ship needs to resonate at exactly the right frequency. Mark stood in the control room, watching as the massive network took shape. Power readings fluctuated wildly as they attempted to balance the energy flow between ships. Warning alarms blared constantly, but they had no choice but to push forward. Energy synchronization at 60%, Jack called out. Crystal resonance is becoming unstable. The entire station shuddered. Emergency lights flashed as the power grid strained under the enormous load. In the refugee ships, the crystal matrices glowed brighter than ever, their light pulsing like heartbeats. The crystals are fighting each other. An alien engineer shouted. The matrices are going to shatter. But Mark saw something different in the readings. No, they're not fighting. They're learning from each other. Amy, increase power to section 4. Robert, adjust the resonance frequency. The light from the crystals change, shifting from chaotic pulses to a steady, synchronized glow. The warning alarms began to quiet, one by one. Energy synchronization at 85%, 90%, 95%. Jack's voice rose with excitement. The matrices are stabilizing. Through the station's windows, they could see the linked ships glowing with shared power. The crystal matrices, rather than shattering, had formed a network more stable than their original configuration. Life support systems are regenerating, Amy reported, checking ship after ship. The radiation damage is being purged from the system. The Noven refugees watched in awe as their ship systems came back to life. Children pressed their hands against windows, their skin glowing with renewed energy as clean air flowed through the vessels. Fleet Captain Dex turned to Mark, his voice thick with emotion. "You didn't just repair our ships. You've created something entirely new. Something that was thought impossible." Mark looked at his exhausted but triumphant team. Sometimes the best solutions come from ignoring what's supposed to be impossible. We might not have the most advanced technology, but we know how to use what we have in ways no one else has thought of. As the crisis subsided, news of their achievements spread across galactic communications channels. The human repair station had not only saved thousands of lives, they had revolutionized the very concept of emergency repairs. "You know what this means, right?" Robert said, looking at his database with a grin. "We're going to need a whole new chapter for this one." 6 months after the Noven refugee crisis, Repair Station 7 had become unrecognizable. The once modest human facility had tripled in size, with new docking bays stretching out into space like the spokes of a wheel. But the biggest change wasn't in the station's size. It was in its purpose. Mark stood at the front of a large classroom filled with beings from across the galaxy. Humans and aliens sat side by side, all focused on the holographic display showing repair techniques. "The key isn't in the technology itself," Mark explained, demonstrating a repair method on an anti-gravity core. "It's in understanding the basic principles that all technologies share. Whether you're fixing a quantum drive or an old Earth bicycle, the fundamentals remain the same." In the back of the room, Amy and Robert watched with pride. The Interspecies Repair Academy, as they called it, had been their idea. After the refugee crisis, requests had poured in from across the galaxy, not just for repairs, but for training. "Today's practical lesson will be hands-on," Mark continued, as various broken devices appeared on the students' workbenches. "Each of you has something different, but they all share common principles. Work together, share ideas, and remember, there's always a way to fix it." The classroom came alive with activity. A crystalline being helped a human student understand energy flow patterns, while a cloud-like entity shared insights about quantum field manipulation with a group of mechanical engineers. Outside the classroom, Robert updated his database, which had now become the foundation for a new field of study, universal repair theory. The idea that all technology, regardless of its origin, followed similar basic principles had revolutionized spacecraft maintenance across the galaxy. "Another repair station opened in the Centauri sector last week," Amy said, checking her messages. "That makes 15 human-run stations now. And they all started from your database." Robert smiled, watching as a massive alien cargo ship docked smoothly at one of the new bays. "Remember when they used to think we were too primitive to fix their ships?" The station's communication system chimed with an incoming message. The holographic display showed a familiar face. Fleet Captain Dex of the Noven refugees. His skin glowed with healthy iridescence. "Greetings, my friends," he said warmly. "The linked ship technology you developed has spread throughout our fleet. We've even improved it. Would you be interested in adding our findings to your database?" This was another change that had come with their growing reputation. Alien species now regularly shared their technical knowledge with the human repair stations, creating a vast exchange of ideas and techniques. Mark joined Amy and Robert after his class, watching as students from a dozen different species practiced repairs together. "You know what makes humans special?" he asked, gesturing at the scene before them. "It's not that we're smarter or more advanced. It's that we never forgot what it's like to start from scratch. To figure things out the hard way," Amy added, remembering their first alien repair job. "To see connections that others miss because they're too focused on proper procedures," Robert finished. A junior engineer rushed up to them, excitement clear on her face. "Mr. Thompson, we just got a call from the Galactic Council. They want to make our repair certification the official standard for all stations in governed space." Mark smiled, thinking back to that first damaged merchant ship that had started it all. From a single desperate repair job to revolutionizing how the entire galaxy approached spacecraft maintenance, It was more than they could have ever imagined. "Well," he said, picking up his trusty toolkit, "we better make sure we're teaching them right. There's always something new to learn, some new problem to solve." As he walked back to the classroom, a line of ships waited at the station's docks. Some were damaged, some were there for training, and others simply wanted to see the place where humans had changed how the galaxy thought about repairs. Above the main entrance, a simple sign caught the light of distant stars. "If it's broken, we'll fix it. Human Repair Station 7, where impossible is just another problem to solve."